All right, the watch list for September 13th, which would be a Tuesday. Here's a SPY. You remember I said it looked like we were rolling over and wasn't that anxious to trade right off the bat this morning. Look at that, gap down and almost an engulfing candle. So some crazy action the last 2 days. When you switch to an intraday basis, most of the day was a tiny slow grind higher. It got a little busy in the afternoon as far as to the upside, but this was not if your neighbors know you're a day trader, they might think you killed it today, and maybe you did, but I didn't. I made money, but it was not, the daily candle with the big upside move. It doesn't really indicate how, I don't want to say difficult, but how slow things actually move today. And we'll give you some examples. Let me slide this over here of some calls just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that we do look for and the low risk setups that we do find. And this is an example. Do, one of our moderators, Oki, he's like our oil play specialist, called Do right there at 1534, and you can see it went up pretty nicely from there. After the entry, was never really in trouble of even revisiting the entry. Wayne called SORL, which was on our watch list right here over 301. You can see it just never looked back, all the way up over 360 at one point. I called SPU at 371. It went all the way up to 371. I wish. 1071, went all the way up almost a buck from there. And I also called TAT right here around $1.07, and it shot up pretty quickly through $1.40. So there's some examples, although I just didn't make as much as I feel like I should have. You ever have a day like that where you had some good trades, some good calls, but it just didn't all add up like it should have? Still a nicely green day, though. But anyway, so going into tomorrow, here's what I'm watching. SGY. Again, I've talked about this before. This had a run from 953 all the way to 1540 in 2 sessions. All right, and then it's still inside of that 2-day run, still inside of that range. It's been going sideways and now tried to pop up, push back down with oil pushing down, but it's kind of flagging. And if it can get over 1340, there's not a lot in the way of this thing maybe squeezing. So I want to watch it. All right. CLRB, just 2 kind of quiet days now. I like it over this 2-day high. So over 320, it might make a run at this 347 spike from the other day. And if you can get through that, maybe a 200-day run. So that one's pretty interesting. I like it over 320. OPTT, this is one of those kind of sleeper plays. There's nothing that compelling about it other than this pop back here and this pop back here. It's done nothing ever since. But when you go to a 15-minute time frame, okay, you can kind of see that a few sessions ago, this had a nice run from 773 all the way up to 855. That's a really nice move within one intraday session. And then you've got a lower high and again a lower high. So a couple days of lower highs, but it's gotten real quiet. You also had a nice big volume spike right here on Friday that took it from 785 to 814. Not a huge move. But, I really like this. If it can get up kind of over the 815, 820 area, it might start knocking down these other catalysts. So it's kind of like my sleeper pick. So keep an eye on that one. KONE is only interesting to me because you kind of have a bottoming tail now at the 20-day. And it's had a huge move here. And then a kind of a nice secondary move here. And it's been tailing off on no volume. And did kind of do a little bottoming tail today. So I want to watch it, but you really want to see volume come into that one before you try to trade it. PRAM was on watch for today, and I didn't take a trade in it, but it had a range from 465 to 539 on Friday. It's a pretty good move, and then today is inside of that day. So today, 495 to 532. Really like it over today's high, 534-ish. Could easily push that through that 539 high and then maybe continue. Look at this move it made back here. 446 to 669 in one session. So it's a lower float stock, and you have an inside day and kind of recent passion, if you will, from early August. So let's keep our eyes on that one. ADES had a nice spike about 4 or 5 sessions ago. Went from 713 to 935. Kind of consolidated for a few days, and then today, look at that volume, nice spike. Really want to watch that for a potential long, only with the proper intraday setup, but if that one's pretty interesting. GNK, let's zoom in a little bit here. You had this big volume spike back here that took it to 545, and then now you've got a little bit of a lower high at 532. So I like this at, let's say, 533. That could be enough to push it through this high and maybe a big breakout. And the only reason this caught my attention at all is because this afternoon is when it got most of its volume, right? These are 15-minute candles. So in the last half hour today, got a big volume spike. That sort of caught my attention. I looked at the daily chart and said, yeah, this is pretty good over today's high. So let's watch that one for a break of 532. GEN had a spike here. Quiet inside day. Should have had it on watch for today, but you got to like this thing over 290. So let's keep our eyes on that one. RTRX had a big spike here after the gap up, and it has not rolled over at all, and it seems to be heading back up. So up over today's high, over 2206. This one might just challenge those recent highs. And then lastly, I have, SKYS, which I've had on watch for a few days. Back down to support after earnings. Maybe we get a quiet, low-risk entry and a little pop, but I don't love this one because you basically have the pop and then the gap up on earnings and then a complete round trip from where it started. So not very bullish there, but I'm going to watch it, okay? We're going to check out some gappers in the morning too, see if we can't catch a nice gap play. They've been kind of rare lately, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't stalk them because they can come out of nowhere and you can get one nice trade to make your entire day, sometimes your entire week if it's a good enough setup. So, all right, I'm going to leave it at that. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.